back to the Kennel, episode 124. We're on to Dallas and the Cowboys after beating the Washington football team. They're in the same division. It's like the NFC South? East.
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Who cares? I'm Stevie James. Gian Trotta's in the house. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Football Kennel and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, notification bell, like the video, leave a comment. We'd love to talk to you. It'll be a lot of fun. So do all that.
East.
NFC East. That's the second one I said.
And they just like ESPN, they have the Redskins logo.
They still have the Redskins logo.
Yeah, this is Google now.
Those racist bastards. All right. Getting right into the episode. We're going to, of course, preview the game, Browns, Cowboys, get into all that fun stuff. We'll do our hashtag Kennel Quick Predicts, so make sure you give us your Kennel Quick Predicts either on Twitter using the hashtag Kennel Quick Predicts or by replying in the comments below.
On
and
YouTube.
if you do a good job and you win, you get to be featured on our next episode, and that's pretty exciting.
Did you mention the fact that we are officially The Kennel on YouTube?
We are youtube.com/The Kennel now. We've done it. No one had The Kennel, which is pretty incredible.
Officially.
On everything else, we're Football Kennel, so it does make it a little confusing. Sorry about that. Anyways.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
Worst things could happen.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. So with that being said, let's just dive right into it today. I see you got some quick bits here. They should be called quick bites because we're in the dog pound. All right, get the floor is yours.
Okay, I wanted to start with losing JoJo Natson. We lost him to a torn ACL.
Which is a shame because your dog's name is JoJo and he tore his ACL.
Yeah, they got that in common. Maybe he could be his therapy dog. Hit me up if you need a
hit us up, JoJo. Well, and for the record, Gian's dog JoJo has recovered.
Yeah, he had his surgery. He went out for a season a few years ago, but he came back strong.
He lost a little bit of speed, but he's still a good dog.
A veteran, reliable veteran, It supports you.
Yeah, reliable veteran presence. A lot of experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that also a bummer because the player JoJo was performing pretty well on the field for the Browns as a kick returner.
His injuries.
Kick returner, punt returner, wide receiver. Didn't get much play there, but was doing well.
No, he was looking quick. Yeah, and he could field the ball, and that's nice.
Yeah. So he's out, and he's in IR, and then we made a move into the active roster by signing Dontrell Hilliard,
which we love.
He's back on,
and he can return
from the practice squad,
and he can return punts and kicks and do all that.
So
fun
exactly,
stuff.
It looks like they're probably going to be giving him a little bit more responsibility down there for the special teams. And then the last quick bit before our game preview is I just wanted to point out that that we're facing the Cowboys, whose new head coach is Mike McCarthy, who for a while there was in talks for the running at Cleveland's head coach position before. Obviously, we signed Kevin Stefanski. So I just thought that was an interesting bite. Yeah,
a lot of people wanted Mike McCarthy, and obviously we did not get Mike McCarthy, and I'm honestly okay with that. I think he's a solid head coach. I think the Cowboys are off to a little bit of a rough start, but I don't think it's so much. I mean, I guess it's his fault because he's the head coach, but he's more of an offensive-minded head coach, and I think the offense has been, doing pretty well, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But they've been on the short end of the stick for some tight games, and I did want to mention we talked about JoJo being hurt, elevating Dontrell Hilliard. We also worked out Ryan Switzer, who's a short little white guy, used to play for the Steelers, but he's a pretty good punt returner. He had some nice returns against the Browns because, of course, but he's a free agent who we worked out, which I think is nice. What do you think about Donovan Peoples-Jones? He's punt returner guy. What do you think about him fulfilling that role? I think he's actually listed as the kick returner for this game.
Well, I mean, has he gotten any reps really as a wide receiver?
Not in games. He's been inactive for a lot of games.
Right. But we drafted him, right? Late round.
6th round pick, Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan. Tons of talent, which is sick. So he's someone that I definitely like.
I'm not against giving him a shot, but it obviously it depends on what shows up at practice. I guarantee. I mean, I'm assuming with them signing Dontrell Hilliard, it wasn't with the idea of Dontrell Hilliard filling up the first spot at kick returner, punt returner. So I'm assuming he's next in line for an opportunity back there.
Yeah, and we're working out the Ryan Switzer guy. You want to have depth. I saw some people tweet that, well, this means we have no confidence in Donovan Peoples-Jones. What a wasted pick. And first of all, we've been over this a bunch of times. 6th round pick.
Yeah.
Like, there's There's no expectations there. Second of all, you still need depth. Say you think Donovan Peoples-Jones can be a good returner, and then he gets hurt. Then what do you do? So that's why you bring up Hilliard, rather, from the practice squad. That's why you try out guys like Ryan Switzer. You always want to be doing your due diligence, and we have smart coaches, so proud of them for that.
Sure, yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, I mean, I think typically you don't worry about the kick returner, punt returning position in a team with as much talent offensively and defensively as the Cleveland Browns' current roster, but it's always an important piece of the game. So I think, definitely good that, like you said, they're doing their due diligence, and I'm looking forward to seeing either what Hilliard has in store for us at kick returner, punt returner, or the rookie.
Yeah, I was going to pull up the starting lineup, and I'm just failing miserably. I don't know why this is such a difficult thing. You think
you should leave the looking stuff up to me.
You would think the Google machine would tell me no problem, but it had no answers for me. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive right in to the game preview. Browns and Cowboys. Game preview. 180. What's up? So kicking it off, as I alluded to, this Cowboys offense is nothing to sneeze at. While they are only 1-2 on the season, the offense has been producing at a pretty significant clip. They're averaging just under 30 points a game, which is good for 8th in the NFL. They're leading the NFL in pass yards per game with 383, and I think you were just mentioning before we got rolling, Dak Prescott's thrown for over 400 yards in consecutive games.
Yeah, 2 games.
And this coming after a season where last year he threw for just under 5,000 yards. It was a top 10 passing yard season of all time. So, dude can sling the ball. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a contract. He is a nice quarterback to have. But with that being said, through 3 games, he's only thrown 5 touchdowns.
Sure.
Which isn't a lot when you consider he's thrown for 1,200 yards.
Right.
But he's only had a couple interceptions, so he's relatively taking care of the ball. He has had a couple fumbles as well. Well, I guess, the 5 touchdowns aren't so bad when you consider the fact that he's had 3 rushing touchdowns to accompany that. So he's got 8 touchdowns in 3 games, leading the NFL in passing yards. That's a tough challenge.
Sure. No, definitely. Against a defense that prior to our last game against Washington, which obviously offensively they didn't have a lot of action for us, gave up 68 points in back-to-back games. So.
Yes, indeed.
So it's still concerning for the defense, and obviously we're still filling up some holes. We need to hear about Denzel Ward since he sat the half of that game versus Washington. But what I'm seeing from the Cowboys is that they're an offense that lives and dies by the pass. Ezekiel Elliott this year not really doing a lot yet. It's early. He's 58 carries, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3.8 average yards per carry. So they're really depending on Dak Prescott and slinging the ball down the field to make it happen. And our defense up to this point has struggled a little bit against the pass. We've been able to fare really well against the run, considering, and then the teams that we've faced. But yeah, I think that's our main goal defensively, is looking out for Dak Prescott's arm. We need to generate a lot of pressure. We need to make him nervous throughout the entire game, because he's capable of getting 300 plus yards on us this game. But if we can control the run, which a lot of teams have been able to do these past 3 games against the Cowboys, and we can keep pressure on Dak Prescott, we have a chance.
Yeah, it goes back into our general philosophy, which is always try to get the lead early and then rely on the running game to close out the game. So if we have them on their heels where they have to rely on Dak Prescott to throw the ball a lot, while there is a legitimate chance of him having some success against our defense, we can put ourselves in a position where Myles Garrett, or my new best friend Porter Gustin, can get after.
He's a man.
Yeah, he's insane. So guys like that can get after the quarterback. That's going to be crucial. And looking at the Cowboys' schedule so far this year, week 1 they lost to the Rams 20-17, close game. Second week they played the Falcons. The Falcons got a huge lead in this game, and the Cowboys were able to come back in an insane fashion and end up winning 40-39. And then last week they lose to the Seahawks, where Russell Wilson threw 100 touchdowns. Russell Wilson this year, by the way, we need to bring our On Pace for segment back probably in an episode or 2. But just as an aside, Russell Wilson is on pace for 75 touchdowns this year.
Something to consider in that is, that's
Insane.
crazy. That's crazy. But
Insane.
I want to jump back to the Cowboys. Something to consider in what you mentioned is the fact that they almost came back against the Seahawks in similar fashion before Russell Wilson put the game away.
Yep.
So.
This game has, this team has a ton of fight, and that's what's going to make things really difficult. Like I said, I'm surprised Dak Prescott hasn't gotten a bigger contract. Their offensive line is typically one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. This year, they're not as good as they typically are, but still a formidable front. And if you look at the weapons that Dak Prescott is working with on the outside, they obviously have Amari Cooper, who they brought in via trade a year or two ago. They have Michael Gallup, who's a solid option. You could argue that he's the number one option for half the teams in the NFL. And then they draft CeeDee Lamb in the first round, who has not looked like a rookie thus far. Mm-hmm. And then the only problem they had was their starting tight end got hurt. I think two of their starting tight ends got hurt, and they're down to Dalton Schultz, who's typically a blocking tight end, but he in a game had something like 10 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, so he's a threat as well. So they got those four guys that can kill you in the passing game. Oh, and did I mention Ezekiel Elliott, who's a great pass catching back out of the backfield and obviously a great runner with the ball. So their offense is just loaded with weapons, and it makes me a little nervous for the defense to be able to hold them down.
It seems to be working for them, at least on the passing side. I mean, I strongly believe they're bound to break out on the running game as well. I just hope it's obviously not this game against the Browns.
Why would you put that out in the universe? Why would you?
I'm here to break down the game, bro.
You son of a bee.
I'm here to break down the game.
You son of a bee.
I give our listeners the truth. I don't.
If Zeke,
I don't lie to you guys.
I lie to you guys sometimes.
I don't lie to you guys.
But they're white lies because I care about you. I'm like a mother. I just want you to do well.
I'm like a father. I'm here to teach you hard lessons.
We're your mom and dad.
Tough love. This is getting weird.
It's getting weird. All right, carry on.
No, but you made a lot of great points. You brought up their receiving weapons, and with a quarterback like Prescott back there, and the amount of talent that they have on the receiving core, and obviously, like you mentioned, their tight end has been putting in some work. That's something to consider because, like I mentioned, our defense, while they've been doing really well, and we'll see once we start getting into our defensive stats here, against the run, against the pass, they've definitely struggled. But you pointed out last episode, and I kind of gave you a little bit of crap about it, is we haven't allowed any big plays, any chunk plays, besides that 47-yarder to the Ravens week 1. So I think coming into this game, that's something to consider. A lot of what the Cowboys have been able to do have been huge chunk plays, passing plays on offense. So if we can stop that, if we can kind of keep a lid on Prescott, I don't know that we can completely shut him down, but if we can shut down the run, make them depend on the pass, and at least keep it manageable, there's a possibility here. And as we get into what we can do offensively and then obviously the stats on the respective defenses, I think that we can make a point towards the Brown actually being able to win this game.
Oh, I think we have a very good chance of winning this game. We actually have a better record than them. And in a lot of power rankings, we're actually a little higher than the Cowboys. Now, I don't think we're favorited for this game. I didn't look at the line. If you want to look that up, I'm a little curious what the over-under is for this game.
I can trade up.
But with that being said, this is definitely a winnable game. The thing that makes me nervous is we always suck against tight ends, always. So what I'm doing in my fantasy league, I actually picked up Dalton Schultz, and I'm actually flexing him at the tight end spot. It's a 2-flex league that I'm in, so you got to fill up a lot of positions. 12-team, 2-flex, big pain in the ass. But I'm starting him as a second tight end because just notoriously, we're horrible at stopping tight ends. So you have a capable tight end that can control the middle of the field. Granted, he hasn't done it over many games, but we've seen no-name tight ends beat us in the past. And then you combine that with a lot of options on the outside and an option in the backfield. Our defense really has its work cut out for us, which is why I wanted to talk about. Well, we can get into the stats of the defense really quick. Why don't we do that? Well, since we're talking about the Cowboys offense, and you had mentioned that the Browns have some nice things going on defense. We talked about not allowing a lot of big plays outside of week 1 against the Ravens. We've been keeping everything in front of us. But if you look from a point standpoint, it's actually kind of funny. The Cowboys are averaging 29.3 points per game on offense, and on defense, we're giving up 29.3 points per game.
Cowboys are listed as 5-point favorites for the Browns.
5 points?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy? They're 1-2, we're 2-1. They're higher, and we're typically higher in power rankings, but that's fair. I'm good with it. It's in Dallas, and Dallas has been having like 20,000 plus people in their stadium, so this should have the feel of a real football game, which will be nice.
Sure.
But going back into our defense,
should we go into our offense? You said, or you said?
Well, since we're talking about the Cowboys' offense, I want to talk about our defense really quick.
Let's do it.
We're giving up as many points as they're scoring, which is 29.3, which hasn't been great. We allowed our first two opponents to go over 30 points. We were able to keep the Redskins semi-contained, keeping them at about 20 points. I think it was exactly 20 points. And they had, obviously, the 5 forced turnovers, which was nice. Going into this game, we're actually 5th in the NFL in rush yards allowed per game, which is pretty surprising to see.
Yeah.
Only 94 yards. Yeah. That's pretty nice.
And I mean, you haven't seen the run game, even against the Ravens.
Yeah, and they were blowing us out.
Yeah.
And they still didn't run it with anything crazy.
Right.
I mean, nothing off the charts.
I don't think they had anybody over 100 yards.
Yeah, well, the Bengals barely ran the ball. The Redskins ran it a little, and they had some success doing it, but it was nothing crazy. But in both of those games, we were able to get a lead early and force the teams to pass, which is the situations we want to get into. But with that being said, we're only allowing 253 passing yards a game, which is 22nd in the NFL, which obviously isn't great, but it's not terrible, considering that 2 of our 3 opponents have had to spend the majority of the game passing. I think Joe Burrow had 61 attempts against us.
Sure.
I mean, I know he's a rookie, but it's still a significant amount of passing. We haven't faced a serious quarterback. I mean, Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback but in terms of like a passing yard situation, we go against
somebody
Lamar
who's
Jackson,
capable of throwing 500 yards on you. Yeah.
like a Dak Prescott. So This is definitely a huge test, and I think this is a really big litmus test. We came out of the gate and stumbled against the Ravens, obviously, and then we played 2 inferior opponents, and we were able to put them both away. So with that being said, you know, people are like, oh, well, you just beat I almost said the Redskins, the football team. Who cares, you know? Well, we beat them by 2 scores, and that's what we were supposed to do. We covered the spread, and we won the game. So this is a good litmus test to be like, okay, this is a team that has a lot of playmakers on it who's going to give us a run for our money. And I wanted to ask you this question. If this turns into a shootout, how do you think we're going to fare?
I think if it turns into a shootout, it comes down to the respective defenses, right? So you mentioned the Browns' ability to stop the pass, and obviously we've played against 3 teams now that have put their focus on the passing game pretty early in the game because either we had the lead or with the Ravens, they weren't really getting anything much going. The passing game was working for them. They were shredding through us. So, I mean, you just go with what's working, right? Why would you switch it up even late game? But you look at the Cowboys defense and you look at what they're able to do. Cowboys defense struggling hard both against the run and the pass.
Yep.
They're allowing 277 passing yards per game, which puts them at 28th. So
worse than us.
Yeah, way worse by far. I mean, we're at 22nd. They're at 28th. That's a big disparity when you're talking about the NFL.
Yep.
And especially early on when things can change rapidly and teams can go on momentum runs. Going back to the Cowboys defense, 127 rushing yards allowed per game. That puts them at 23rd. Way worse than us, obviously, with us being at 5th. They haven't generated a lot of turnovers. They're at 1 interception and 1 forced fumble. They do have 6 sacks, but I still think that's not much when you think about the teams that they've played. And obviously, most recently, Russell Wilson, he's known to be a crazy scrambling quarterback, but he's never known to have a great offensive line, and he is known to get sacked a lot. I could look back at if he was sacked at all, but you know, I think it's fair to give them those 6 sacks as something that they could do. They can generate pressure, but are they really generating turnovers? Are they stopping the run? Are they stopping the pass? No. So I think if we can keep a consistent running game, which we have been able to do, and if Baker can turn it on and it does become a shootout, we have the edge with also having the running game to our advantage. The Cowboys are live and die by the passing game. If we can really manage it to just a passing game and Baker can turn on the Jets, we definitely have a chance of getting into a shootout and potentially winning that shootout, I think.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are giving up almost 33 points a game. They're at 32.3. That's 30th in the NFL, so there's only a couple teams worse. They actually give up 3 more points per game than we do.
And besides the game against the Ravens, we've scored 30-plus points.
Exactly. So I think this is a situation where Baker Mayfield can really shine. Dare I say it?
Yeah. If I was going to say that too. I think he's due for a breakout game, and this is the perfect recipe for him to do it. Perfect recipe for him to do it.
If there was ever a time he's going into Texas, where he's from, in Dallas Cowboys Stadium, it's going to be a huge game. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. All the doubters are going to be chirping. I mean, granted, if we get ahead and we run the ball 40 times and he only has to throw it 20 times like has been happening, I'm not going to be mad. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm okay. I'm not going to be mad with that.
But if I would selfishly love to see this turn into a game where Baker Mayfield's able to throw for over 300 yards, a few touchdowns, do some vintage Baker Mayfield things that we've been dying to see, because I'm really sick of a lot of people in the fan base who are so hard on Baker. It's unbelievable how aggressively hard so many people are on him. Where
it's because we're not seeing these crazy flashy numbers.
Well, and you want
but this offense isn't built to do that.
No, it's not built to do that. And people are seeing what Patrick Mahomes is doing, what Lamar Jackson did last year, what Russell Wilson's doing right now, Aaron Rodgers, and they're like, well, why can't Baker do that? And it's like, because we're the Browns, man. Like, we haven't had Baker Mayfield's our best quarterback since we've come back by a mile. It's not even close. We haven't had anyone that could even make it to a third season, really. I mean, you could say Tim Couch, I guess, but outside of that, we've had nothing.
And he's had how many head coaches?
4.
Gone through how many front offices?
4. It's an insane situation. He's building that chemistry with the offense. He already has great chemistry with Landry. You see it. Landry consistently gets open for Baker, consistently catches the balls with his hands. And I think we're finally starting to see the tide turn with OBJ and him getting more involved. I think Kevin Stefanski masterfully uses Chubb and Hunt. And if we're in a situation where it's more of a shutout, I don't think Stefanski's the kind of guy that's going to just abandon the run outright. I think you'll still see Chubb get a lot of opportunities, even if we're, maybe it's 21-14 going into this, starting out the third quarter, and we get the ball and we want to get a little aggressive. I think we'll still pound the Chubb and do that stuff. And
what I'm thinking? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm thinking back to the game against the Ravens, and I'm almost glad we got blown out early. It sucks that of all teams to do it, it was the Ratbirds. Don't get me wrong. That's like the worst thing ever, but it's almost better for the morale of not just the team, but Kevin Stefanski, for him to be able to keep his even keel personality and his outlook going into each game. I think it was better for him to get that blowout loss out of the way, where maybe that feeling of being overwhelmed in the game doesn't happen anymore. He's already been through it.
I think that helps. And the fact that, like we've said before, we're really good at imploding. We're excellent at that. Sure. So the fact that we, imploded in week 1, but we're able to bounce back immediately. We talked about this with the Redskins game. We fell behind going into the fourth quarter, but doubled down and got a two touchdown lead. I don't think that was talked about enough. We entered the fourth quarter down 3. We won the game by 2 touchdowns. When have you ever seen the Browns come through in the fourth quarter? Yeah. Almost never. It's been a really long time.
Yeah, that adversity we talked about.
Yeah, and that stuff is extremely important. And we're getting healthier. Which is important. Last week, we saw Mac Wilson play a little bit in the Washington football team. I think he ended up playing like 6 snaps. I mean, he barely did anything, but good to see him back. Sure. You'll expect him to have a larger role in this game. I don't know what the Greedy Williams situation is. He'd sure, with them having 3 big options at receiver, he'd sure be nice to have back. Yeah. But we're getting healthier on defense. Who knows what's up to Olivier Vernon? I mean, he's just forever hurt. Who knows? But Porter Gustin's my new best friend. Doesn't matter. But back to the offense. The reason I bring up us getting healthier on defense is we've been fortunate with the exception of Jack Conklin going out for a game. We've been pretty healthy on offense.
JoJo.
Well, but he's kick return. I'm not super concerned with him as far as the offense goes. So we've been, as far as all of our key guys, OBJ, Landry, Hooper. We did lose Njoku, so that hurts. But we got Hooper. Harrison Bryant's been awesome, the young guy. You got Chubb.
We did
Hunt.
see JoJo on a couple
he did have some nice little sweep
arounds.
Yeah. Dude, 5'7", 152. He's literally smaller than us. Well, smaller than me, at least. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's definitely smaller than me.
Crazy.
You're smaller than me.
That's crazy.
You're like smaller than me, I guess. It's like,
well, yeah. I'm saying I weigh more than him. Do you weigh more than JoJo?
What does he weigh?
152. That's insane.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe not.
I'm just saying that's nuts. A football player running around, imagine me running around out there.
Yeah. What's Travis Benjamin?
He's tiny too, but he's a little taller.
Yeah, I think
JoJo's 5'7", 152 for the record, which is insane.
All right, anyways. Well, that leads us to the Browns offense. The most important part of this entire game prediction to come to fruition is the Browns offense clicking.
Yeah, I mean, the defense needs to do enough to keep the Cowboys offense in check. I think a really important thing is forcing turnovers. So even if the Cowboys are able to amass a lot of yards, I think if we can get some turnovers, they've been prone to coughing up the football in terms of fumbles. We've been pretty good at forcing fumbles. We've already forced 5 fumbles through 3 games, which is nice. So if we can get them to cough up the ball, if we can get a big interception or 2, that helped us a lot in the Washington football team game because we were able to get great field position off those turnovers and then most importantly, score touchdowns as a result of those turnovers. This may be a game where it may come down to 1 or 2 key plays, and if that key play is the Browns getting a takeaway from the Cowboys and marching it into the end zone for a score, that could be the difference between winning and losing. So I'm not super concerned with giving up a lot of yards. I'm more concerned with looking for big splash plays from the defense. I think the Cowboys will have big plays on offense. I think if we can match, to an extent, some big plays on defense, take the ball away, put the offense in a position where We can pound the Chubb, pound the Hunt, put Baker in opportunities to succeed. I could see OBJ having a big game in this. The Dallas secondary is not great. I would love to see a big game out of OBJ. Maybe you should include that in kind of quick predicts for fun.
I'm actually hoping to see a big game from Jarvis.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, okay, we could do that for a hashtag kind of quick predict. Who's going to have more receiving yards?
Okay.
Jarvis or OBJ? Or do you want to do catches? Yards or catches? It's a tough call, right?
Yards.
We'll do yards. How about more fantasy points? OBJ or Jarvis? Because that's kind of all
there's so many
encompassing.
different metrics in fantasy games, like different types of, like PPR.
Full PPR.
Well, I have Jarvis in my fantasy league. Which fantasy league would we use? Mine or?
Yeah, just use yours. That's fine.
Mine's PPR. Okay.
Or just do like what NFL.com says. Whatever. As long as it's from the same source. We'll be good. So we'll do that. That'll be fun. Anyways, with that being said, maybe it's a good time to segue into hashtag Kennel Quick Predict.
Do we want to?
Or do you have any other thoughts on the game?
Well, I just wanted to go deeper into the fact that Baker didn't have any turnovers last game. He's at 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
He's got the same amount of passing touchdowns as Dak Prescott. But half as many yards.
Love to see it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good thing. And I would think, he's only thrown the ball successfully 53 times, 564 yards. That's pretty good. He's doing well.
Yeah, when he's asked to throw, he's throwing it. It's fine.
Yeah, so as long as he keeps that consistency, and again, I think he's due for a breakout game, and I think this game has the recipe for him to fulfill that. So I think it'll be important to keep an eye on him, and I think the game plan will be to get him going early, probably, if I had to guess. And then obviously Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, I mean, just chugging along. They're doing great.
Just chubbing along, if you will.
Chubb Hunt.
Chunting.
Hunting along. Chunting along.
Yeah, Nick Chubb very impressive on the season. 51 carries, 292 yards, 4 touchdowns, averaging 5.7 yards per carry.
And then, Kareem Hunt, 39 carries, 204 yards, a touchdown, 5.2 average per carry.
They're both on pace for over 1,000 yards.
And then he's got 8 receptions, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns to add on to that. So they're pretty much right on par.
If Nick Chubb has another game where he goes over 100 yards and gets at least 2 touchdowns, he'll be joining only Jim Brown as in Cleveland Browns history to do that 3 consecutive games in a row.
Yeah, and if we win against the Cowboys, that means the first quarter of the season, 3-1 first quarter of the season.
3-1. I just got goosebumps thinking about being 3-1.
First quarter of the
3-1 feels so much different than 2-2.
Yeah,
like those feel like
very distinct.
A million miles apart. Offensively as a whole, we're third in the NFL in rushing, 30th in pass yards per game. That's because we're running so much. Points scored per game, we're at 18th in the NFL, so we're about average there. We're going to keep pounding the rock. We're going to keep controlling the game. This may be one of the only games this year, one of the only, there'd probably be a couple others, where we're in a situation where it actually becomes a little bit of a shootout, where the offense has to get a little crazy, which makes me a little nervous, but also a little excited. I think this is definitely a winnable game.
I want to see that happen, so I'm predicting that will happen.
Beautiful. Speaking of predictions, is it time
for Kennel Quick Predicts?
Hashtag Kennel Quick Predicts.
Quick Predicts.
Quick Predicts. So we're going to get into it. Make sure you use the hashtag Kennel Quick Predicts on Twitter if you want to get in on our Quick Predicts. When we tweet about the episode, in the reply to the episode, we'll have them listed out for your convenience. If you're watching on YouTube, in the description of this video, we'll have them there so you can copy and paste and enter everything in, make it really easy for you. So without further ado, let's kick it off like we always do, and that's with Myles Garrett sacks. We've been talking about the Cowboys having to pass the ball a lot. We've mentioned how their offensive line isn't as strong as it used to be. So with that being said, Myles Garrett should feast right. What say you?
I'm going to go for another duo sack game. I'm going to go for 2 sacks for Myles Garrett. Once again, he's going to get 2 sacks on Dak Prescott.
I think that's always the go-to for us typically. It's like, Myles Garrett, how many sacks is he going to have? Well, at least 1.
I'm here to win, bro.
Probably 2.
I'm making educated guesses.
Okay, excellent. Well, in this one, I'm actually going to be a little more reserved. I think Dak Prescott's very mobile and slippery, and I think this is a game where maybe we do have more sacks as a team, but for Myles Garrett, I'm going to go 1 sack in this game. 1 singular sack.
Boo. All right, moving right along, we'll go to Baker Mayfield passing touchdowns. Not the stat line, just touchdowns for Baker Mayfield. We're both expecting a potential shootout. We're hoping Baker Mayfield can have a breakout game. What say you, Baker Mayfield passing touchdowns?
I believe he can have a breakout game, and I want him to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns, but I just think in this Kevin Stefanski offense, I think we'll be able to get into the red zone, but I just think Kevin Stefanski's too smart and likes to run it in the red zone. This year in the red zone, we have 9 touchdowns and 0 turnovers. Our success rate, I think, is 7th or 8th in the NFL. So really great statistics in the red zone, and I think we have those statistics from pounding the ball, and I think we continue to do that. I do think Baker has a big game and throws for potentially over 300 yards, but I think once we get to the red zone, we rely on Chubb and Hunt, and we pound it in. So I'm going with 2 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield.
Well, that's kind of boring. I'm going with 3 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield. I'm expecting a big game. I'm expecting over 300 yards. But on to the passing touchdowns, I specifically asked for touchdowns. I'm going to go with 3 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield. I still think we pound the Chubb and we depend on Kareem Hunt. But I think 3 touchdowns. It's not
a quick predict, but do you think he throws any interceptions this game? Does he go 2 consecutive games without an interception, even in a game in which he's forced to throw?
I don't want to jinx that part of it, so I'm just not going to make a prediction on that.
You're going to plead the 5th on that one?
I plead the 5th.
All right, cool. Rolling into the other quarterback in this game, Dak Prescott. We're going to predict his stat line. We've talked about how he's thrown for over 400 yards in consecutive games. He's leading the NFL in passing yards. I think he will be able to stretch the ball a little bit this game, but I don't think he's going to have as many passing yards because I think we are still going to play some semblance of ball control here with our running game. I think we'll be able to maintain possession over this Dallas Cowboys defense, so I don't think Dak Prescott is going to get enough attempts to throw for as many yards as he has been traditionally, so I'm going to go for 285 yards. I think he still tosses a couple touchdowns, and he's able to run one in as well. So 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdowns, 285 passing yards.
That's nice. I'm actually going for a little bit higher game yardage-wise, but still not 400 yards. I think we keep him under 400 yards, but I think this offense really depends on that passing attack, and I think they'll continue to do that, and Dak Prescott will get a chance to throw the ball a lot, but I think overall we'll keep a lid on him being able to score, and I'm going for 348 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
I'm into it. This next one I like because we just made it up, but the Jarvis or Odell Beckham, who's going to get more fantasy points? I like this one because you and I are picking different things, so there's a guaranteed winner and loser between you and I. Everyone else
We've done that for everything so far, though.
Well, but if Baker Mayfield throws 5 touchdowns, then we're both wrong. If he throws 0 touchdowns, we're both wrong.
I win in that because I would be the closest. But I get what you're saying. There's only 2 outcomes.
It's a yes or no question, you son of a bee. This guy.
There are 2 outcomes, and one will be your victory, one will be mine. I get it.
This guy. What did I tell you about getting blackout drunk before the show?
It's never going to happen.
All right, cool, perfect. So I'm going with Odell. Moral of the story.
Okay, I'm going with Jarvis.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well,
he's in my fantasy team. I need a big game from him.
So that's what you're just trying to will him into a big game for fantasy.
I'm counting on you. I know he listens. So.
I had the worst week of fantasy ever last week. I hate fantasy football.
I'm 2-1 like the Browns.
Nice, dude. When you win in fantasy football, you're like, I love fantasy football. It's so fun. Anybody want to make a trade? And then when you lose, you're like, stupid. Who's on the waiver wire? Nobody, dude. This game sucks. Yeah, it can go either way.
That's so true.
Next one, Browns turnovers forced. Like we've been talking about a lot, we think the key to this game is the Browns not necessarily limiting the amount of yards the Cowboys are able to have on offense, but making some big plays a la turnovers. I think we do that to some extent, but I don't think it's going to be too crazy. I think Dak Prescott will take care of the ball, and we're able to force a single fumble in this game that we recover. Hopefully it's Myles Garrett, but it's going to happen in a big moment. We've seen Myles Garrett in particular in this defense come through late in game. I could see it being a situation where maybe we're tied and they're driving down the field and there's a big fumble that gets punched out, and we recover it, swing momentum, drive down the field, and kick the game-winning field goal. Yeah, I just predicted it. So I'm going 1 fumble for the how many turnovers are the Browns going to force? 1 fumble.
Fair. All right, cool. Well, I don't like that, and I'm going to go with a way bigger game from us defensively. I think the defense kind of got punched in the mouth coming out of week 1 and week 2, obviously with the blowout, and then again totaling about 68 points between week 1 and week 2. And then they had a kind of a confidence booster in the game against Washington, being able to get the 2 sacks and the 5 turnovers we had against them, 5 turnovers. So a great game for them, able to turn it around, and I think they'll drive that momentum all the way into this game. They'll continue on that turnover train, and they'll get the 1 interception that I predicted for Dak Prescott on top of 2 fumbles.
Okay. I mean, I love that. You're acting like I don't love that.
No, I'm just saying.
All right,
I think my predictions have been more fun this week.
Well, you always want to use the logic and reason for your predictions.
I'm using logic and reason to make my fun prediction.
All right, well, it's logic can be fun, allegedly. All right, the big one, the most important one, the only one that matters, besides all the ones I beat G on. And final score.
You haven't beat me in anything. I'm winning overall.
Score for Week 4, Browns and Cowboys. What say you?
Well, I think we've gone into detail on what the expectations are for this game, what could potentially happen with the shootout between Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott. And I think, obviously, with that being said, this is going to be a high-scoring game. And it's going to come as a bit of a shock for some people that listened to episode 120 where we broke down the NFL schedule and we made our predictions. And I actually predicted a loss for the Cleveland Browns against the Cowboys, but going into Week 3, having the stats in front of me, and then being able to look at this game on a week-to-week and these teams on a week-to-week basis, I think I'm going to change my mind, and I'm actually going to go with the Browns win, crazy high-scoring game, shootout against Dak Prescott and Baker Mayfield. We're going to end Browns win 36-29.
36-29. What a unique score. That might even be like some kind of scoregami.
I like scoregami.
We have talked about
scoregami. Can I get extra points if it's a scoregami?
I feel like if the score is 36-29, whether it's scoregami or not, you can get a whole bunch of points.
Oh, sick. Okay. Well, that's fair.
I will look up if it is a scoregami. How do you even
spell scoregami?
There's a website for it. I know that. It's a very serious thing. And you can actually, maybe you can look it up here.
There's a crazy
what are you guessing? Winning team 36?
36-29.
Losing team 29. That would be a scoregami.
Wow.
That would be. So if it is indeed 36-29 and it is a scoregami, then you get all the points.
Nice.
I don't know what you'll do with them, but you'll have so many of them that you won't even know what to do.
Buy a bunch of hookers and cocaine.
With the imaginary points.
Yeah.
They'll love that.
Or I'll go to Disney World.
Hit them up like, what's up, baby? You have no idea how many imaginary points I got from my Cleveland Browns podcast. You have no idea. Take you out in the town. Then you go to pay and you're like, here you go.
What are you giving me? Points. There's nothing there.
Are you Gian from the Kennel? Holy shit! Why did you say so? You have all the points. Okay, taking this too far.
Hookers and cocaine. They're into like the Kennel on top.
Why didn't you say so?
What's your prediction?
My prediction is 31-28. I think it's going to be a tight game going into the fourth. My prediction is, and if this comes completely true, then I get all the points. And I said this earlier, it's going to be 28-28. Cowboys will be driving down the field. Bah, big fumble. Browns recover. Momentum shift. Drive down the field. Kick a field goal pretty much as time expires to win 31-28 in Dallas. Because all the Cowboys games have been close, so let's do it. Let's keep it close.
That's wild. I like that prediction. I'll give you a bunch of points if you get that correct.
You'll give me all the points.
A whole bunch
that there ever were.
To this point, but there will be more.
Yep, and going back to our full season prediction in episode 20, I predicted a loss in this, but this happened last year where I predicted losses throughout the season and was
a
reasonable
win for every single game.
And then as we go game by game, I always predict a win.
I'm trying to stick to my prediction from the episode 120, but I couldn't help but change it looking at the stats. And if I'm wrong, I'm gonna regret it greatly, and I'm gonna have to. If I'm wrong, and the Browns lose to the Cowboys, I will never go against my original prediction again.
At least this is a game where there won't be any existential dread if the Browns lose. Like we were talking about if we lost
Unless we get blown out.
Well, I mean, we talked about if we lost to the Bengals and we were 0-2 and how devastating that would be. Then it was like, if we lose to the Redskins and we're 1-2, like that would just be so horrible. But at least in this one, obviously, anytime you get blown out, that sucks. But at least in this one, if we lose the game, it would definitely suck and I'd be very sad. But it wouldn't be soul-crushing and devastating.
It wouldn't be the end of the season.
No, we would be 2-2.
Or at least it wouldn't feel that way.
We'd be 2-2 and we would have lost
to the most reasonable of fans.
Yeah, well, it depends how you lose too. Because people are like, "No, I'm not mad if we lose." Then we lose, and they're like, "Well, if Baker Mayfield didn't suck," and then it's like a whole thing. So that's dumb. But with that being said, I think we're going to win, and we're going to be 3-1, which just I can't even wrap my mind around that.
That would mean that your overall prediction would be correct
then. Yes.
Yeah, so the table, how the turntables.
How the turntables. All right. Any final thoughts on this game?
No, man. I think I laid it all out pretty clearly throughout the entire.
What's going to happen, like what happens with most episodes, is like I'll be editing this and I'm like, I didn't talk about this, and this. So it's all good.
Any final thoughts? Maybe if I ask you, it'll spark them up.
No, I have no final thoughts. I just want the Browns to win. I want Baker to play well. I think a big game for OBJ would be a lot of fun. Wonder what jerseys we're going to wear. It's always interesting to me.
I think we'll find out tomorrow.
Have we worn the white ones yet? I think we have. Yeah, I think we have. No, we have. Maybe.
White jerseys? I don't think so.
That'd be cool. Well, I think Cowboys wear white at home, so maybe we go all brown. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We did the brown and orange.
Or what about
brown
orange?
Fun. Or we might go brown, white pants, brown shirt, white pants. Go all orange. I've never been big into the all orange. I like the orange pants. I'm good with just the orange pants. That's nice. This is the best look, though, probably. Just classic Browns.
Yeah. I would like all brown. All brown would be cool against all white.
All brown is fun. All right, those are our final thoughts. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Click the thumbs up button, leave a comment, turn on the notification thing. There's so many things you gotta do on YouTube. It's crazy. If you're on Apple Podcasts, rate 5 stars, subscribe, all that crap. Follow us on Twitter at Football Kennel, and Instagram and Facebook at Football Kennel. And then if you're just listening, I recommend checking us out on YouTube. It looks pretty legit,
especially with our brand new backdrop.
Got the backdrop. So
can you
YouTube.
Hear it? In the background. If you're watching, this is real weird, but if you're listening, it's also
it's
real
like Get Him to the Greek, where he's like, rub the fuzzy wall. So maybe you're not getting drunk before the episodes. I know what you're doing before the episodes.
Rubbing the fuzzy walls.
Yeah, that's right. All right,
anyways,
cool. So you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/The Kennel. Switching it up there, keeping you on your freaking toes, man. All right, I think that's about enough. Thanks for dealing with us.
That's about most people can take, yeah.
All right, we'll see you after the game. Make sure you tune in. Probably Monday morning, maybe Sunday night, probably Monday morning. All right, cool.
Monday morning.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.